Habari ma Africa, mimi ni King, nina furaha kukutana na wewe. Asante kwa kutazama King Said So. Now ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in the Republic of South Africa, we're having a situation with Enoch Gondongwane as the Minister of Finance postponing the budget speech. This is the first time, and I want us to talk about this because this is an indicator of what is to come in the future of coalition government. We're going to have a problem. You guys don't understand the impact this small postponement from today or yesterday up to the 12th of March is going to have for many NGOs and many departments in doing their work. Departments that are already suffering from cost containment. Now, what is happening here is going to repeat itself. If the prophets of dooms are indeed correct in saying that we're going to have a government of national unity or coalition government for the next 15 years, you can just imagine how things are going to turn out in the future. We are never going to have a government that can make a decision or even agree on making a decision. Now the DA is playing, all holy to say they are the ones who stopped this budget speech because of the value-added tax that is going to be pushed from 15% to 17%. Does not surprise me. This government does not care about the poorest of the poorest. Even if they don't do it now, it's probably going to be done next year anyways. So next year is a higher risk for the ANC because it will be closer to the local elections, of which it will not be good for the ANC because opposition parties will be using that as a machinery against what the ANC is doing, because we will always blame the ANC. They are the one that chose to work with the Democratic Alliance instead of the MK political party and the EFF. I want us to talk about the response from the Economic Freedom Fighters President Julius Malema on how they should rather focus on adding the VAT on the rich people and leave the tax of the poorest people. Just make sure that people, the rich of the richest, pay more. And you know that the Democratic Alliance cannot agree on that because all they are concerned about is investors and investors. Let's create more jobs. Let's make the environment more suitable for investors to loot the country more and more. I want us to discuss this issue of the budget speech being postponed and much more.
Welcome to King Said So, Africa's one land, one language, one currency, one army on King Said So. Africans can unite. Your Pan-Africanist podcast. Enjoy.
Peace in Pan-Africanism to all my African brothers and sisters from all around the world. Welcome back to King Said So. I'm your host, Kagiso Hlongwane Zinjiva Ngwane Sono, and we're back at it again with another one. And this time around, we are addressing the budget speech that was postponed by Minister Gondongwane. Not surprising. But before we get into that, let me just continue to invite you guys to the gala dinner of Paseta, where we are doing a fundraising to build the school. It's very important that you guys attend this gala dinner because we are trying to raise as much money as possible for us to build the school at the speed of light. You know, this thing of just building and stopping is not assisting us. People want to see that school standing. They don't want to see one wall. They want to see the whole thing happening. So we are busy with the architecture, with the drawings and everything, and to see how much everything is going to cost. So if you want to know how much the whole school is going to cost, you want to know the nitty-gritties of what actually is happening at the school, what our curriculum is going to be like, all those things. If you want to know them, you have to make sure that you attend the gala dinner. Make sure that you purchase the last two VIP tickets that are left, and make sure that you purchase your VIA tickets of 1,000 Rand. Go to www.paseta.co.za so that you can make your booking right there. So thank you so much for everybody that is supporting us on that regard, because budget is important. Hey, Buffett, this budget speech, what we are hearing from opposition party, and this opposition party is still in the GNU, there was going to be a hike of 2% on VAT, okay? There was going to be a hike on VAT. So when you look at the fiscus and how money moves in our country, you can understand that the poorest of the poorest are not going to be able to afford another hike on VAT. We just can't afford it. The last time this VAT was increased, I think from 14% to 15% was during Jacob Zuma's time. And now during Cyril Ramaphosa's time, again, another difficult situation presents itself where the minister has to get some more money from somewhere, and they are not choosing the richest of the richest, they are choosing the poorest of the poorest to hit them where it hurts the most. This VAT hike does not affect the rich people as much as it affects the poor people. You know, the rand has already dropped because our rand has got feelings. As a rand has got feelings, international market are saying South Africa is unstable. Yes, it's true. It's unstable because of this GNU. The GNU and Cyril Ramaphosa was supposed to be the best option for South Africa to go forward. It was supposed to be the ideal situation for investors to come back into South Africa because Julius Malema is not in government and Jacob Zuma is not in government. The investors got what they want. But let me tell you, running government is not as easy as running a business. Government is more complex than just running a business. And the partners of the GNU are finding that out very quickly. The DA is responsible, ladies and gentlemen, of leaking that letter that showed us that there was indeed a 2% proposed hike for VAT. But these people, they go behind closed doors at the last moment and expect us to be understanding. And like I told you, South Africans are very tolerant. We tolerate anything in South Africa. We just tolerate. And it's like there's nothing that gets South Africans angry long enough. Nothing. I mean, you can ask any South African now, what happened to the tax shop issue? You won't get an answer. Up until another child is unalived again, then you hear this patrioticness about South Africa and everything. We don't have enough civil movements that make groundbreaking changes or impacts on the community level for us to see our lives change. And we cannot depend on government always. They play us, these people. They played us. You think all of my friend, the Pakistanis, the Somalis, and the Indians that are registered, you are fooling yourself. You are just fooling yourself. So when we talk about this, the Minister Kotongwane, the budget speech was not supposed to be postponed. It was just supposed to be presented and declined or accepted. Give the parliament, the executive was supposed to give parliament an opportunity to hear what Kotongwana was going to say. And it means that the ANC waited until the last moment. Kotongwana waited until the last moment to give these people, hoping that they won't read a certain page, So at this delay, I remember when I was working for an NGO, where I was working for a soup kitchen, and we would have problems with a budget not passed on a provincial level by the MEC of social development and all those things, and it will affect us as an NGO, that's a soup kitchen that's giving food to children every day. Because if the budget is not decided, there's delays and postponement and all of that, the poorest of the poorest feel it. And I can remember the face of the children when they came to the soup kitchen where they were getting a plate of food. And for some of those children, that was the only plate of food that they will see that day. And they find the gates closed because social development has not yet passed the budget and all of those things. So you can just imagine, if I'm just talking about the soup kitchen, there's NGOs that deal with gender-based violence. There's all of those things. NGOs that deal with juvenile criminals and all of those things. All of them are going to suffer because of this postponement too much. Everything has to stop. Everything has to stop, ladies and gentlemen. So what does this mean for us as African people? in terms of thinking about 2029. We must understand that GNU does not work. Coalition government does not work where one party that is voted by the majority of the people making a decision that actually speaks for the majority. Understand? Because the ANC could just make decisions and pass budgets because they had the votes, and now they don't have it. And now we're having a situation where we are all looking from outside, hoping that this GNU will sit down and agree. Guys, I'm sure when they sit down there now discussing it and deliberating on it for the 12th of March, the main theme is going to be, let's stop putting our country in such a big risk, because the rent will suffer, the poorest of the poorest will suffer. This is not a good look for us, the GNU. Unlike Gayton McKenzie saying, GNU working for the past 2 weeks, what I have seen, Gayton, wacht jy net 'n bietjie man. Kan jy nie you hold your back club, man. Hey. Gayton and Icon is a problem. So in 2029, when we go to the polls, let's remember this. This thing does not work. This GNU thing does not work. How must we strategize our votes as African people so that we can benefit from government, and we can pressure government? You know, the African National Congress voters could pressure the ANC in doing some things, and could show their unhappiness with some of the decisions that the ANC have done. Now they can't do anything. The ANC is going to tell them, you guys did not vote us into power, so now we are consulting. We are back into consulting. So another thing we must remember in 2029 is that the Democratic Alliance is not a good team player. They are the ones who are being said that they have linked this letter of the 2% hike. So they are not a good role player. When they say some things behind closed doors, when they come out of closed doors, they are, they say a different thing. So we must remember that. We must remember that we must not team up with the DA. Us as African people, we must not team up. As much as they are moving from left and slowly going to the middle and from the right moving to the middle, we cannot trust the Democratic Alliance. They don't have a president that is knowledgeable about politics, that is educated enough to understand how the fiscus work and everything. Let's leave the Democratic alone. This one issue that we are seeing with the VAT is not the main issue. It's not the main issue. I think they are trying to do something else that is going to blind us. But we will be listening to this budget speech with everything on the 12th of March if it's going to happen. There's something else that they are trying to do, ladies and gentlemen. Let's not only be fooled to say it's only about this one issue. It's not about this one issue. There's other issues that they're going to try and dribble in the back door as we are still focus on this VAT. For example, they will leave the VAT as it is for now, because I believe they're going to hike it next year, not this year, because there's just too much opposition on it. Kotongwane will be in a lot of pressure if he had to hike it this year. So they're going to try and do other things. Us as normal people, we want jobs and security. Many people want that. And remember, the budget speech will not speak to fighting land expropriation and all of those things. If you want them to invest more money in the army, just forget. Unemployment, they're just going to touch on it here and there. Crime, what are they going to do in equipping our police with better technology? And just forget, those things are not going to be talked about. They are not things that are bettering your life as a black person is things that are not going to be engaged on. So let's just quickly listen to what the economic freedom fighters had to say about this postponement.
The EFS suggestion is that we increase the corporate tax and the wealth tax must come in, because those are the areas that are actually not contributing much into the fiscus. Instead of going to VAT, we don't care whether you are going to remove certain items or not. The poor will still go and buy the items that are not excluded, and that will be a burden on the poor masses of our people. So we are saying, and that's the advice we gave him, increase the corporate tax and introduce the wealth tax. That's how you're going to generate more money. Leave the poor alone. We just increased this VAT from 14 to 15% during Zuma's time. Now Ramaphosa wants to take it to 17. No one seems to be thinking for the poor of the poorest.
You know, I like this issue of what Judas is saying, to say increase corporate tax and leave the VAT alone. I like that so much because, let me tell you, the richest of the richest in the mining sector, the banking sector, the agricultural sector, every sector actually, the manufacturing sector and everything. What they do that you guys don't know about is that they do what we call tax evasion. They work their books in such a way that it looks like they are not making or making as little profit as possible. You get the books of the mines, the accounting books of the mines, and you try to look at how much these mines are doing. You will find that the profit is so little. Why? Big bonuses for the shareholders and everything. They are just moving money around so that their sheet can reflect that no, they are actually not making a lot of money. So, like, increase the corporate tax and leave the VAT alone. But now the problem with increasing the corporate tax is that you're going to clash with the DA. The DA cannot be seen agreeing to that. Even people like the pathetic alliance are not going to agree with that. They're going to say, but no, why are you punishing the rich? Because now they can't blame government for incompetency because they are in government. You see? So the DA and the other parties, they're going to find themselves between a rock and a hard place to say, do we allow VAT to increase and tax to remain the same, or do we increase the corporate tax and leave they are in a difficult place, ladies and gentlemen, which is very joyful to look. The poor will feel this budget speech more than everyone else. I've already said that increasing to 17% is not a joke, but my prediction is that this was just a smoke show. They're going to increase it next year, and next year they will be increasing it so that it can hurt the ANC more. This year it's not going to hurt the ANC. The ANC needs to be very strategic, and if they're going to increase this VAT, let them increase it this year rather than last year. That's the advice I would give them, because anyway, they don't listen to us as poor African people. They're gonna do what they want to do. Do it next year. Do it this year. Don't do it next year. Next year is going to hurt the ANC on the poll. Let's just remember one thing. Whatever opinion that the EFF has, the MK political party has, they don't have power in parliament. The executive is the DA and the African National Congress. They're going to make the final decision, and they're going to be able to influence the other parties in the GNU. The EFF will end up not accepting the budget speech. I don't think there is a budget speech that they have fully accepted and everything. Welcomed. I don't think there is in the history of the EFF. It's not going to change anything. That's the sad thing. So if you guys want to see the EFF have power, 2029, vote them in power. Vote them in power. This thing of keeping them there below 10%, keeping the MK party below 20%, it's not going to work. Our voice, Tina, who are in the left, will never be heard. So that's the sad thing about this whole issue. No matter what the EFF, the ATM says, the National Colours Congress says, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, yes, they will voice it out and say, we want them, we told them not to do it, but they don't have power to influence if that budget speech is going to be accepted or not. So that's what I'm saying. And I'm very disappointed with this budget speech, but being postponed. But I'm not surprised. This is what we're going to get each and every year. Next year, we'll be just waiting to see, are you guys going to postpone it again, or what is going to do? Next year, we'll be going into local election government. So the competition will be fierce in government, everyone wanting to look good, and the ANC will suffer the most. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this podcast. King said so. Until we meet again, don't forget to pray. But after you pray, stand up, African child. Do your best so that God can do the rest. Peace in Pan-Africanism. I salute you.